I don't know how clearly you can see the plushie on the couch in the corner. There's no shame, honestly. I'm a grown man that's... Oh god, I've been importing plushies from Japan for the past month. Hi, my name is Cezary and I was the composer for Resentment. So the way the film begins is you have Lloyd and Graham driving in the car. And I really wanted with this piece to reflect the mood of the memories flashing back. You have the flashback to the initial conversation in the car park of, Lloyd asking Graham for help with the situation, but there was also a sense of history there, which is why I chose to go with the very prestigious choice of the violins, which gave it that emotional beat, and then the guitar comes in the moment Graham starts speaking. And it creates this aura of almost childhood nostalgia, because you can feel that these two brothers have a history together. And while you may not know everything about them, you can definitely feel that through, again, that nostalgic feel that you have in the piece that's playing in the background of whatever's happening on screen. And for the second piece in the film, this is when I started to insert the more sort of narrative beats into my musical composition. So this is when I started mixing and matching the instruments that we had previously established would represent each of the characters, and we started to mix them together. So at the beginning, when the boot opens, again that low violin kicks in, still representing the history that these characters have together. And the moment Graham hands Lloyd the shovel, you start hearing again that very soft piano because Lloyd is talking. The moment that Graham says something, it hits that rugged guitar again. But what happens after that is they're mashed together, they start playing together in unison, and that not only represents the fact that Lloyd might potentially become corrupted by Graham's way of thinking as the story progresses, but it also represents that Graham, while being the way he is, he still has a bit of that innocence that Lloyd prides in himself, that Graham still has that piece of his brother in him. And obviously, when the piece starts playing together, you start seeing and hearing that these two brothers might not be as different as the story initially led you to be. Now, for the third piece, and I really like what I did with this piece. It was supposed to be a very low-key piece. This is when the viewer is supposed to be focused on what Graham is saying to Lloyd. So he's confronting him about the past, their history together. He's confronting him about the mixed feelings he's had, about Lloyd being favoured more by their parents and other things like that. And you hear that guitar playing because you hear Graham's bitterness as he speaks, and the guitar gets more and more out of tune as the piece progresses because Graham starts to let that bitterness out. He's not filtering it anymore, and as he stops filtering his feelings towards Lloyd, that's when the guitar kicks in. What I really liked that I was able to do with this piece is to fit it into the narrative with the theme of anticipation. So the way I did this in practice with instrument is, so say that I start a sentence right now. If I start talking to you right now, your mind is going to pay attention to whatever I'm doing until I finish my sentence. And that's exactly what I did with the piece. At the end, the piano not only strikes a foul note, which immediately makes your brain go, oh, that didn't quite feel right, it never returns to feeling right. It stays on that foul note and ends. It fades away. Because the conflict is never resolved, and I thought that it was appropriate to reflect that in the score, and that's something I'm really proud of. This project, it's been a huge step up with how I make my music. Every single time I've composed for a film before, I have still tried to insert narrative beats into the music I make, but I think I'm probably most proud of the way that I did it here, especially since this is the first time that I used the guitar MIDI instrument. I've never actually worked with it properly before, and it was just really exciting to be able to adapt to it, and I think it's an instrument I'll be able to include in my future compositions more easily now. I've gained more knowledge of the use of the violins, the intensity at which they play, the volume, the amount of time that the note is actually held. There's a lot of things I've learned while composing for this project, and that's knowledge I'll be able to take forward and maybe remaster some of my old melodies, but also just improve my future compositions in coming projects. So I have a YouTube channel just under my official name, cezary.zalesinski. Pretty much everything I've made so far is on that channel. My contact email is there, so if anyone's looking for me to make anything for them, I also do voiceover work. If anyone needs that sort of job doing, but everything I've ever done and will do will go up on that channel. One of the projects I have lined up is I'm scoring a vintage style little horror short, but apart from that, officially, I don't really have anything lined up on my plate. Right now I'm just trying to make melodies of my own. I'm sort of, going places and seeing if I can find inspiration for different things. There's a couple ideas I've got rattling around in my head, but essentially now it's just freelance composition, try to make as many versatile tunes as possible to build that portfolio so that someone can visit the channel and just, see if the kind of music that they want is there, and if it's not, then they can contact me and see if we can workshop it and if I can get it done for them on demand.